Aloha. Well, I'm so happy that you're here to join us today because we have a very special treat for you. I am very greatly honored to bring to you my dear Aunty Doll. Auntie is my Hula Kumu, my ukulele Kumu, my Hawaii Kumu. She's my Kumu. Kumu means teacher, by the way, in case you haven't gotten that part. So Aunty Doll, yay, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Aloha.
Aloha.
It is my pleasure and an honor to be here with you today, Airielle.
Thank you, I'm really grateful. I've been trying to talk Aunty Doll into doing this with me. It's at least 2 years already, I think. So I'm so glad she's finally consented. She's such a busy lady and she gives so much time to others. And that's part of what keeps her so busy because she's always giving. So she's a blessing to our island, and that's for sure. All of us who do hula with her, we know so. So Aunty Doll, tell me and tell these people out here, you are pure Hawaiian, yeah? So there are not very many pure Hawaiians left on this island.
No, not many. Aloha kako. To begin with, greetings to all of you. I am pure Hawaiian, born and raised on the island of Maui. I was born to wonderful parents. My dad was Albert Naiolikia. My mother was Elizabeth Lono Limahai Keahi. My dad originally came born and raised in Kauai, then uprooted when his family came to Maui, made their home up in Haiku. And my mother always been on Maui, out in Honokohua. Today, Honokohua area is called Kapalua. I born and raised there also. In fact, the building where I was birthed is still there, and it's close to the Ritz-Carlton. So I grew up there before my grandfather passed away. Then I had to go back to Oahu. But my parents was on Maui first, but had to go too because that's where the jobs were. And my dad raised a big family. He adopted 2 children before he had 10 of his own.
Wow.
So he needed to make more money to take care of his family. And while I was here on Maui, I grew up out there in Honokohua. My grandma used to be the konahiki, or the caretaker of the valley called Honokohau. And it was known for taro. So I had my experience in the taro patches. You know?
Was that like konakahiki?
Konakahiki is a title of the person or the families that were assigned by the ali'i, or the king, to take care of that. And they're passed on from generation to generation. And my grandma was the last of her generation before everything changed. But you know, it's a family thing. And when it's passed on to the generations, it's a high position for a family because you represent the family. So you want to do a good job.
Oh, that's so beautiful. You know, I didn't really have any kind of family ties like that. So for me, the tradition and the beauty of it touches me very deeply.
Yes, and your question, well, you had stated about being Hawaiian, is there's not many of us left.
No.
And so I didn't marry a Hawaiian. My husband, Joe Aricayos, is Hawaiian Caucasian, you know. So my children, and then now they married and they didn't marry into Hawaiians.
Right.
So their children are all chop suey.
Chop suey, right.
But that's the beauty of Hawaii. Is the mixture of the culture, and you see it in their children, the generations to come, and of course we all love to eat. So the fun part about being all mixed is to enjoy each other's food and the traditions, and even if we didn't understand, we respect it and we honored it just by watching and learning, and not saying anything bad, but learn from it, because we all know there's always room to learn new things. Absolutely. As we get older.
Well, you keep teaching us that, Aunty Doll. Every time we think that, you know, okay, she comes up with another one. Flowers, shells. really, ladies, we have such a good time, and our hula group is a kupuna group. So, you know, for those of you that don't know, that means over 55.
Over 55, or the elders, you know, could, as female and male, we're all called kupunas. Kupunas is the elders of our place where we live, and our job is to pass on wisdom to the next generation,
Right.
as examples as well as words. Yeah.
Well, I took you away from that background. I really didn't want to do that because I loved where you were at, you know, because so the reason that I love doing this show is because so few people out there have this information available to them. And she's the real thing.
Well, you know, there's a lot of information in books, but it's nothing like coming from a true story or growing up experience, you know,
Right.
because you're not making up no story. You're sharing something that is life to you, and you grew up with it. And that's the part we don't have it anymore. We have to learn from books, and you want, you know, human nature. You want to see them, touch them, feel them, you know, and so it's not real if it's just from a book or a movie.
That's right.
Yeah. And so the life experience that we have, if we don't share it with others, we'll lose it. And that's the whole idea about the culture part. And in Hawaii, we have so many different cultures, you know, and it's good to learn about each other. And it's very life-giving. It's still being used today.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know, I started out chop suey before I came to Hawaii, but I'm even more chop suey now because I know there's part of me that is Hawaiian. You know, I've been on the island for 34 years, and
but you know, when you were sharing about to our audience about the flowers and everything, Hawaiian is not just music, it's not just language, it's not just food, you know, it's nature around us, the trees, the mountains, the flowers, and you know, it's such a beautiful creation here in the islands that you can look at a tree and see a different shape in it, or see it moving in the wind, and then the more you watch it, you get so intrigued with it, like life. You know? And so for me as a Hawaiian, like you said about, we make flower lace, we make feathers, we all this, nothing is wasted. You know, the Hawaiian
They use
people are very
everything.
resourceful. Yes.
I love that. It's
They use everything.
so great.
Yeah, it's so true.
They use every part of everything for something else.
That's right.
And it's been such a learning experience to do this with Auntie. And I really thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
You're welcome.
You know, I know we don't often get the opportunity to really thank you publicly that way, but she's truly a blessing, and if you get the opportunity, come play with us.
Come
So-
play with us.
Anyway, Auntie, going back again, because I love this now and then, you were one of those beautiful dancers who went to New York City as a teenager, right?
Yes, was given such a privilege when Hawaii became a state in 1959. You know, Hawaii was known all over the world. And so my group that we were dancing with, my Kumu, or my teacher, was John P. Ilani Watkins, who was very knowledgeable of the culture and the music and the dance. So with his group, or his halau, we were called Hula Studios back then. Halau means school, Hula means to dance. And so back then it was just known as Hula Studios, where we got together to dance. And so the group auditioned to go to New York, and they did a play at Jones Beach, produced by Mr. Guy Lombardo. Choreographer was June Taylor of the famous June Taylor Dancers, and I was just 14 years old back then. So we went up, the first year we went up, we had to have a tutor because we were still in school, and then the second year we went up, we didn't need a tutor because it started in the summer. Well, I was told back then that they had to do it for 2 years because they spent so much money to set up the stage, the choreography, the whatever they have to do, that they always run it for 2 years to make money back. And so the the play was called Paradise Island. And Mr. Arthur Treacher, who was very famous when Shirley Temple Black was, acting as a little child, he was the butler. And he had a main part in the play also, in the show. And of course, June Taylor is so famous with her wonderful dancing and choreography.
Dancing.
We had such a wonderful experience. I had such a wonderful experience. And my dad, I remember taking me to the airport with all my brothers and sisters back in the old Honolulu International Airport.
Did he have a truck?
My dad was in tears because he said to me, because there were so many of us children, he would never thought of any one of us going to travel. And so to get this opportunity, and they didn't have to pay anything for him. And my dad in tears let me go. Of course, my first time, so I got homesick and missed them. I missed my mom, so I would call home sometimes. And I would ask my mom for my dad. And she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I just miss my dad. Just miss Dad." So he's missing me, and Mom over there said, "Be strong." Dad said, "Oh, I wish you could come home." Mom said, "Be strong. You're going to be okay." So my mother was a strong person out front, but very soft inside. But my experience there, then we went back the second year.
Yeah.
I made my 15th birthday there and my 16th birthday.
Oh my gosh. Auntie, what was that like for you? I mean, here's this real Hawaiian girl, who's never been off the islands, and to go to New York City.
A lot of fears. I was afraid, yes, because I didn't know what to expect, and being away from home. And you always, but the good part about it, we went as a group. Right. So we still had that family kind of atmosphere.
I would still think that would be totally overwhelming, though.
And we had some wonderful sponsors up there, wonderful people that took good care of us. We all were situated in a big house. It was 3 stories. The boys were on the top, and the older girls, and then of course the little ones with their mother or the chaperone or whoever came with them.
There were little girls
There were little girls too.
How old were they?
The youngest, I think she was 5. There was a couple of them that was 5. Then we had teenagers, and then we had some older ones too, because it was like sharing a family, a whole family atmosphere in New York. And like I say, it was my first time in New York, so like, wow, all these tall buildings walking around. So our guide or escort would say, "Hold on to your bags, hold on to your bags," because we're so amazed with everything up there. We're not watching.
Right, you're in awe.
But we learn, and the people were really nice.
Oh, I'm so
the
glad.
Singers and dancers. On weekends when we didn't perform, they would take us to sleep over their houses and
isn't that
learn
nice?
about them.
Wow.
Yes. And I found New York was a lot of mixture, just like Hawaii. There were a lot of different nationalities.
It's a chop suey place too.
And they took us to where they would travel. I mean, they would go shopping, a restaurant. They would take us to where they would go, like everyday people. And so we just fell in love with all of them. And they treated us like we were their children. And some of the singers and had their own families. Some were husband and wives in the show. So they would take us home to their house and meet their young ones.
Right.
But most of them had young children, so we were like teenagers. But it was a wonderful experience. And June Taylor, she was really strict.
Boy,
but
I
could
bet
see that she was. That's why she was so good.
That's why she was so fabulous. Yeah.
And her lead dancers, they were the ones that worked with us every day. And then we in turn taught them Hawaiian or Polynesian dancing, and they taught us like hip hop and all that other kind that they were doing back then. I really don't know what it was called, but it was dancing. But it was so much fun. And I still have memories of it. In fact, a friend of mine who was from New York and gave me a book written about Jones Beach, and I never knew the real story. We went back to in the 50s, when it started there, the Jones Beach and the Broad Walk, and we went there too, but we don't know the background.
It's a big difference, that beach to the Maui beaches.
Oh yeah, it's very cold. It's not clean. You know, you can't see the bottom.
Right.
Like Hawaii, the water is so nice and clean and clear. You can see your feet under the water.
Auntie, we were sitting out at McKenna the other day, and the water was so turquoise at the shore break at the, what's the word?
Moana.
Moana, at the Moana. That's the water near the shore break.
Kai near the shore, where the color is a light green.
Kai near the shore.
Yeah, and then further out where it's deep blue, it's the Moana, where all the fishes. Practicing your hula.
I'm practicing, Auntie, I'm practicing. Anyway, so the water that was breaking, it was actually near the shore because McKenna is such a short break there. But the waves were the way they used to be to me, where you could see through them.
That's right.
Right? And you could just see through them. They were so beautiful. And I was thinking about you. I was talking to my friend and telling her that I was trying to remember Auntie's really doing a great job of attempting to teach us seniors hula who are forgetting English.
Yeah. But for me, when I teach the hula, because I'm Hawaiian, I want my students to know it correctly. And I want them to learn and be very appreciative of and understand. So we say malama, to take care of it. So the next generation can enjoy it also, like how we are enjoying it today. And so for the Hawaiian people in the dance, the words are shared with emotion. Because hula actually is expressing what's going on inside, and you're bringing it outside with your hands and your gestures and your expressions. So for us Hawaiian people, if hula die, we die as a people, because hula tells our story. And that's what we are doing in hula, is telling a story. And so when the haumana means student, when I'm working with the haumana, I want them to understand the words. So I would repeat it, and I would give them the basics and a little background story of what the song is about. And if I know the composer or know a little bit about the composer, I would share that information also with them. So when they go and dance somewhere or go home to the mainland and they say, well, you live in Hawaii, you should do a hula. And so she can stand up and do a hula, and then she in turn tells them what her story is about. And then they would understand, and then they would appreciate what you're doing. Because like I shared about, there's in Hawaii, being Hawaiian, there's not too many of us left as Hawaiian people. And the Hawaiian people are trying very hard, you know, to get themselves established in all these years. It's very difficult because we are part of the United States now, and we are a state. We are the 50th state, and sometimes people forget that we are a state. And sometimes they even ask me, do you need a passport to come to your place? No, because you're part of America. You know,
is that the
interesting?
Japanese?
It's very interesting because some people still don't know.
Really? Seriously?
Yeah. I remember traveling and people asked me, do you still live in glass shacks? I said, no, we have real houses now.
But we sing the song, My Little Grass Shack. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. They really ask that.
Because they're from Hawaii, and the first thing they say, and what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm sure.
I said, well, I want to see how the rest of the world looks like too, you know? I read about it. When I was little, my favorite book was the encyclopedia.
Me
and
too.
The dictionary.
Me too, Auntie Doll.
Because that's my traveling.
Yeah, I could sit for hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Read about all the places.
Travel.
And the other book I really liked was, because my grandmother lived in the countryside, we had the Sears catalog. The catalog, and we find some for Christmas. We like something. We tear the page, put it on our pillow, under our pillow, and we sleep and dream about it. You know.
Auntie Doll, you might have looked at me, because when I was a kid, I was modeling in that Sears and Roebuck catalog for all the Christmas stuff with the flannel nightgowns.
Wow, maybe you were there.
So maybe you put my picture under your pillow. I love that idea. We got connected way back then.
Who would have known?
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, amazing.
Oh, boy.
Life is good.
Life is so good, and like I've said, I am so blessed. You know, and I've really pulled a couple people into Aunty Doll's class that told me that they couldn't do it, and that happened because Aunty Doll did that to me. Because when I first started dancing hula with Aunty Doll, I had broken my leg and have metal in my foot and everything, and we were playing ukulele, and she said to me, "So why aren't you in my hula class?" And I was like, "Oh, Auntie, I can't do that." And she said, "Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can." And I just want to encourage, like you do, to get up and move and enjoy all this beauty that is around us, because we have so many opportunities to do that here on Maui. We have fantastic teachers like Auntie who...
Well, Maui have a wonderful senior program, and that's Kumu, and they're my boss, and they have wonderful programs for people our age, you know, the kupunas, because a lot of people think just because we're older that we're not useful anymore. We may be old, but we're not dead, you know? We're still alive and well. And to me, at this age, we earned it. We earned this. We worked hard, now we retired. We did things before for the kids or for the husband or for somebody else. But now we're able to do something for ourselves. How we feel. To make us, like I hear people always say, "Oh, Aunty Doll, I always wanted to dance, but I was so busy." Or I always wanted to do that, but you know, I couldn't drive. And then now we have buses that would pick you up, and even the teacher would drive over there to be near you, you know. I tell my students, we're so blessed because I'm in Kihei for them. I used to go Lahaina and teach, I used to go Paia and teach, and also Kihei. But then gas got expensive, car maintenance expensive, so I asked to be centralized because I live here and they worked it out really well. So I always have to remind my students, if you have the time, stop by Kumu and say thank you. Thank you for the services that they're doing in the county of Maui. Because everything is donation. You know, you're not said to pay $30 a month or $5 a month. It's whatever you can give. Sometimes you have nothing to give, that's okay too, you know.
Well, not only that, but Auntie has people that come from really all over the world to study with her. And we are so blessed that she's right here for us.
That's so true. You're
Really,
blessed.
it is true.
So blessed.
She's also, besides having gone to New York, when I was listening to her the other day, oh, by the way, you should see this picture of her from her high school reunion. Oh, well, did she look beautiful? Oh. Very svelte with this long tail.
It's you know, to me, you know, Airielle, as I share with the students, it's not the color of your hair, it's not the color of your skin or the color of your eyes, it's the condition of your heart. You make, wherever you go, if you don't meet the people, you will never go back with a lot of information and a lot of love.
That's right.
You only went on vacation. You didn't meet people. And it's like a meal. When you're all by yourself, even if it's steak and lobster, it doesn't taste good until if you have somebody sitting down next with you. And even if it's just hot dogs,
right?
You know, it'll taste like steak and lobster.
Steak and lobster hot dogs.
Because of the company you have. But that's what, we were never meant to be all alone, you know. And I have the opportunity to share with others, and I can clean and just glean off of others who I talk to me and share with me, and I can sit there and nod my head because I understand. Sometimes it's because I've been there myself, you know, and I understand what they're going through. Sometimes we just need a listening ear or a hand to hold, you know, or understand, or a heart, and then you walk away like,
Your heart is always so compassionate. I always feel that, Auntie. Thank you for being such a beautiful teacher. See, not only, she teaches everything. Spirit, and when she said that Kalnoa was her boss, I kind of laughed at that. Because as far as I know, Auntie Doll only has one boss.
Amen.
And that's the big guy upstairs.
Amen. You're so right. Can't do anything without you. Thank you.
That's your boss, right?
That's my boss.
That's your boss. So when you said Kalnoa, I was like, nah, I don't think
so. But you
so.
know, I know, like, my boss said, give credit to and honor to where it belongs.
Right.
So,
and you do.
Yeah. Because I know where I am. It took a lot of people to help me to get here, you know. Yeah. And even my own family. Like the other night was the RAM, that talent show.
Real estate talent show.
Well, I tell you, that was so funny. My daughter-in-law won last year,
I
so
know,
she was
she
one
did
of
a
the judges.
fabulous job.
And my son was the judge. I was there, but I
know.
was called late. My son said, "Mommy, what you doing?" And I was just relaxing. He said, "Can you go pick up my son?" I said, "Where is he?" He was at home.
Oh,
He
yeah.
wasn't feeling well that day, so he was just relaxing. So I went there and I forgot the key to the house. So I'm yelling at him. Everything looks so dark. I called him and said, "Are you sure somebody's home?" He said, "Yes, he's in his room by the window with my cell phone, the
Right.
light." And then he opens his eyes, flipped the light. He said, "Tutu." I said, "Lopaka, your dad said for me to pick you up." Well, we did a performance in the intermission.
Right.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't there.
Well, intermission in the middle, and so we got 5 girls there, and then
Really?
yeah,
Oh.
and everything worked out good. My granddaughter danced at the Marriott. My daughter takes care of the Grand Wale Luau. After they worked, my daughter picked up my granddaughter. They joined in, so we had a nice show.
Oh, that must have been
My
beautiful.
daughter-in-law danced because she was the winner
And
last year.
you're all such fabulous dancers, so what a treat.
I tell you, it just worked out.
What a treat.
It just worked out. And then he texts me, "Mommy, thank you Jesus, thank God." I said, "Yes, thank God. Everybody was there for you." He said he was so nervous because last minute they checked the time, but everything worked out good.
Perfect.
Perfect.
You know?
And because we live on this beautiful island, you just can call and then get on the car and come on down.
It's always in control.
Always in control. He's always in control.
So, you know, there's more that we need to share with you with Auntie. So I told her she can't get away with just one interview because then she has to tell you about teaching in Japan
Do I really have to?
and living in Honolulu. And there's just so much of share, Auntie. You know, I love doing ukulele, especially with Auntie, because when she starts talking story,
Well, you know,
It's the best.
music takes us back to a time when maybe we have gone through something or remind us of something in our life. And so when the opportunity comes, to me, it's a time to share it because maybe somebody needs to hear it that's in the group. You don't know. And sometimes you don't know why they're there. Sometimes maybe just to get out or something.
Right.
And then when you start to talk story, after class they come up to you and say, "I needed to hear that. I'm glad you shared that."
right? You
It
said
was
that just for me.
Yeah, it's an on-time thing. So it's all good.
I always feel that you're sharing it just for me.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here
You're
today,
welcome.
Auntie Doll. And there's so much more I want to talk with you about. And you know that. We just have he's rolling her eyes. It only took me 2 years to get her to start with.
Well, then why don't you continue? And
We'll
I'm going to take
do
a
it.
second break here.
Again.
Why don't you just decide to
No,
do
we're
some more?
pal here.
You think
Don't
so?
you think, Auntie?
Up to you.
Okay, the magic of television. And we're back just like that, and we are ready to travel to Japan with Auntie.
Aloha. Welcome back. I'm Aunty Doll, Aricayos. As Airielle mentioned, I would like to share a little bit of teaching abroad. It started off actually way back in the 70s when I used to do promotion for Hawaiian Airlines, Pan American, the Hilton Hotel. They
Wow.
used to send me out and in fact, right after high school, because I made my 18th birthday in Japan, and we stayed there for a month, and the Prince Hotel, the Prince line, that chain of hotels in Japan, we were sent to all the different hotels in different areas like Tokyo, Osaka, Fukuoka, you know, all down the line till we went down to Mikimoto, Pearl Island. But it started that time, and I went with the Honolulu Police Department, and they did the promotion because they shared a lot with the government and the police department in Japan, and I think they shared some of the classes that they did. So we performed at the Hilton hotels, I mean the Prince hotels in every area in Japan that had a hotel there, and they even took us up to the mountains to a real Japanese hotel and to experience the Japanese style. But it started off flying into Tokyo, and with the hotel as one of our sponsors, they took care of all our expenses, you know. And I went with two other girls. Their parents were part of the Honolulu choral group, so they were very active parents in the police department. So, and I was actually the outsider, never learned anything.
And they treated you great.
And they treated me good. And in fact, I learned after we came back, 2 years after that, Japan made a movie called The Hula Girl.
Wow.
And because of the influence of dancing over there in Japan, they picked it up and they took it to a town, I forgot the name, but the town had a coal business, coal. You know, in the cave and underground.
Like mines?
Yeah, mine coaling. And then they were going to close it up, so they needed something where the city could make money. So they brought in a hula teacher, and she really didn't want to, but she came with the little bit she knew. And today they have a beautiful, it's like a resort area where they have hula dancing, and they made a movie about it. And so the experience that I've had, I thought about it, that it made a mark there, you know, for us to take hula. And the Japanese today, the women and the young women, and even the men, are really into hula dancing and the ukulele.
Yeah.
Very, very famous now in Japan. Well, then I went there in Japan and traveled first to Japan, but I danced on the Matsonia and the Lurleen before when I came back. So before I could get a job, a real job, I was still dancing.
Wait, what is the Maxonia?
Matsonia is
Is that a boat?
the boat line. The big cruise. Yeah, the big cruise boats. Well, it went out of business now, but it was very famous back then. And we used to go on the boat and come in and dance, and they used to throw money in the ocean, and my brother there used to dive for money.
Oh,
and we danced, we came off the boat, the tugboat took us out, meet the Lurleen or the Matsonia. We got on it, came in with them, and we danced on the shoreline.
Oh, that must have been so
And the lace sellers walked around with their lace. And I forget. And then I danced over at the Kodak Hula show, which was down in Waikiki. And I was still a young teenager to me. But my travels also, after I got married more so because I settled down already, I got to travel again. Went to Guam, went to Hong Kong, went to Canada. In fact, I could take my husband to Hong Kong. We dancers took our husbands. The musicians took their wives.
Wow.
And that was Continental Airlines and the
Wow.
Hilton Hotel and the Hawaiian Hotel. I mean, the airlines. So they were our sponsors.
Well, you're
And
royalty, Auntie.
And they took care of us. Our
course
place
they
to
did.
live, spending money, everything. What a wonderful experience. So today, I tell the young hula dancers that hula can take you a lot of places.
It can.
And
So can anybody who has a beautiful heart like Auntie's.
Yes, you have to have a good heart.
That's right.
Because you have to accept them.
Right.
Because you're the stranger here.
Exactly.
So you have to go there with an open heart and learn from them. And so, and then I lived in Japan for a little while to teach. And I made my 50th birthday there.
Wow.
So when I sit back and think about it, I made my teenage years and then my glorious years.
New York, Japan. Where else were your birthdays, Auntie?
It's so beautiful, and the memories that I had, like you said, I can share with my grandchildren. I can tell you a little bit about the grandchildren too.
Oh,
They don't want to listen when the grandfolks talk. So when they were little, especially my granddaughters, I would say about this experience. I was talking. We were at the beach gathered, and I was talking about my youth, where I was born and what I went through. And my granddaughter was sitting on the table. And when her brother, who's 2 years younger, said, Tehani, let's go play. Let's go down to the beach. Let's go play. And she said, no, I want to sit here and listen to Tutu. I was so shocked. I was amazed she wanted to listen to Tutu. I want to listen to Tutu. She's telling about when she was a little girl. And that's true, I was talking about when I was young.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's so important that they hear it.
Yeah.
How wonderful that she wants to.
And then when she was still in high school, or she's going to graduate this year, she called me and said, Tutu, can I make a date with you? And I said, what do you want? She said, I want to record you. So she had a little tape recorder, and she had some questions on her paper. And she looked at her paper and she talked to me and she said, I want to record you, Tutu, because I want to keep this so that I can write down what you said.
That is so
And
precious.
this is what you're doing too today.
Absolutely, that's exactly what
so
we
we
do.
can pass it on.
So we can pass it on. And Auntie's family, I know, has been bugging her too for this information, right?
Well, they just know that I'm not getting any younger. And, you know, that and the kids are not getting any younger too. They're getting older, so they don't want to lose it.
Give us just a kind of a little picture of that big family that you have, Auntie. I love this.
I have a big family, my brothers and sisters,
right.
and they're all dancers and singers also.
Is that 11 of them?
That was 12 of us, and 9 still living. Yeah, we lost one hula dancer, our oldest sister. See, my dad adopted 2, a boy and a girl. The girl just passed away last year. My oldest brother, he's just made 79. And then after him, that's my adopted one, then we had 10 after that. So my oldest brother from the 10, he passed away. And then another sister who was also a hula dancer, and a sister above me at birth. So, but we have about 8 or 9 left.
And then how many children did you?
I have 3 children, and they're all active in music and dance.
Right.
They all can play instrument, ukulele, they're drummers, they're singers. Even my son in Colorado, he had a group while in college, and the name of the group was called Hawaiian Soul. And was local boys and girls that they got together to play Hawaiian music. Then my oldest son, Kepa, he's a talented dancer.
I bet a lot of you out there know Kepa. He is like
he was
everything.
in Evita, Cats, Les Miserables, Miss Saigon. And
he has such a fabulous voice.
He loves to be on stage, live, you know. And he is a hula dancer, and he also a teacher. He's a ra'atea. A ra'atea is a Tahitian teacher, dancer. He has his own group called Te Mahu Merahi. And he used to always be in tourism, but he finally got tired of it. Now he works as a vet, assistant to a vet. And he loves his job because he loves animals. And me too, and his dad, we all love animals. And then my daughter, she's very active in singer. She's also a singer, teacher of the dance. She also lived in Japan and taught hula in Japan. She takes care of the luau at the Grand Wailea.
She's a great hula dancer too.
She takes my place, and I take a vacation to teach the ladies. And so she's very loving, and she loved music, good personality. She gets along really nicely with everybody. And then my grandchildren.
Oh, she's also got a son who just ran for office in
Oh
Colorado.
yeah, that's my Colorado son. He lost by 800 votes, so that's, you know.
Well, that's really good.
Good for the first time. So he's coming home, and his whole family's coming home this June, because my granddaughter will be graduating from Maui High School. So I'm gonna have all my children home with me this summer, and I'm so excited. So excited.
And all the grandkids.
And all the grandkids and the great-grandkids.
And the her great-grandkids.
We bring them to
So
Hula
precious.
sometimes. Joe is the official babysitter, the papa. And Joe babysits them maybe 3 times out of the week, and he looks forward to go. He gets disappointed when he's not needed. And he said, oh, how come? Oh, mommy got a day off, or mommy's hours are less, so she can stay home with us. And so I said, you miss them? He said, yes. But you know, that's what keeps the family together, is because there's always a need. When there's a need in a family, the first person, or the first people you go to is your family. And when we were younger, we didn't have a babysitter. My husband and I, we worked shifts where somebody would be home. I even homeschooled my children for a little while, and I think that's the best thing I ever did in my life. I don't regret it, but you know, the Social Security is not as big as you would want it, because you had to stop working. But you know, money isn't everything. Yes, money is good to have, but the experience and the opportunity that you had to grow with your children, there's no price tag, there's no price on that. And so I'm so thankful that I can share. My children sometimes call me, Mom, well, what did you do when we did this, and what did you do when you do that? So, you know, giving them ideas and what you dealt with helps them to raise their children. For sure. And now my son is a grandfather. He got 2. So I have 2 great grandsons, and they're beautiful little guys, and they drum too, they dance, and we're gonna be passing on that legacy of Hawaiian culture and dance to them also, because we want them to carry on, you know, to carry on with them.
Of course, it's so important. It's so wonderful that you have that in your family and your background.
It is, and it's also very rewarding, you know,
Yes.
because you can still see it. And sometimes something happen and you don't get to see it, they move away, then you only hear about it.
Right.
You know, you're still happy, but it's nothing like seeing it, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mine are way over in Florida.
Yeah. And you miss them.
I do, and she can just play with her. And that little boy, the little one, I think he started drumming when he was about 6 months old.
Oh, oh, they love it. As soon as they walk in, if the drums are set up, they know where they go. They know where they belong. They just go right there. But you know, every day is a new day. And so every time you wake up, you just get so thankful, because you can't wait to see what the day holds for you. You know.
And it is such a blessing to have a fresh new day on Hawaii here, and it's been such a blessing to be with you today, and thank you for joining us here. And I've loved having my Kumu Aunty Doll here to share with you, because she's magical.
Well, I want to thank Airielle, because we've been trying to do this for a long time. But with my busy schedule, because I live in a beautiful community, I volunteered first when I was still working. I volunteered to teach classes, to give back and do crafts, you know, because I felt this way. I need to give back. I need to give back to a community that has been really good to me and my children, my family. You know, we cannot be takers all the time. A lot of people we know that are just takers. They come to just take what they could get. But we have to learn that giving and receiving goes hand in hand. You cannot only give, you're going to run out. You cannot only take, you're going to get choked. You have to learn to give and to receive. They go hand in hand. It's like breathing in and breathing out. is needed. And so I just want to thank Airielle and Jason running that camera over there for taking this opportunity to spend time with me. I thank the good Lord that we had time together today, and He gave me the good health to wake up and come and join Airielle, and maybe we'll have other times like this. We don't know. We don't know what the future holds. We just have to take one step at a time and be thankful that when we can accomplish. Mahalo nui loa. Aloha wau ia oi. Ahoi ho. Aloha.
Aloha.
With Jason, he's hypnotized.
Two beautiful girls is easy for me.